Salute to you, OP. You did what you had to do, man. You divorced her because she was not worth it. And I like what you did in part two, sir. Salute to you. I like how you got them both dealt with. Let's get into this one, guys.
Subject: My ex-wife lied about a work trip, so I hired a private investigator. Dear True Story, I hope this email finds you well. I never imagined myself writing into a channel like yours, but after what I've been through, I figured maybe, just maybe, my story could help someone else who's second guessing their gut. Or at the very least, maybe someone out there will realize they're not crazy for suspecting something is off when everything looks perfect on the surface. My name is Herbert. I'm 41, I live in Virginia, and I recently finalized a divorce that was about as messy as they come. I discovered your channel after YouTube recommended one of your videos to me. Something about a man who hired a private investigator and found out his wife was cheating with her boss. That title alone had me hooked. The story was disturbingly similar to mine, like eerily close. So I figured, why not share my own? If you do decide to read this, I have a part 2 that dives even deeper into the aftermath, because this wasn't just a betrayal. It was a complete demolition of the life I thought I built. Let me take it from the top. How we met. You're the kind of man I prayed for. I met my ex-wife Elle back in 2014. I was 30 at the time, and she was 27. We met at a mutual friend's housewarming party in Richmond. She stood out immediately, not because she was loud or trying to be the center of attention, but because she wasn't. She had this quiet, graceful energy that drew people in. We got to talking over drinks, and by the end of the night, she was asking if I wanted to go to brunch the next morning. It was effortless with her in the beginning. She made it seem like everything I had to offer was exactly what she had been waiting for. Her words, not mine. She said things like, "I've never met a man so steady," and "You're the kind of man I prayed for." I can't lie, it felt good to be seen that way. I dated casually before, but nothing that made me feel like I was building something real. Elle changed that. At least, that's what I thought. We got married in 2017. The ceremony was small, classy, and perfect. My parents loved her. Her family welcomed me. We honeymooned in Italy and came back planning for a future. Kids, a bigger house, building a life. In those first 2 years of marriage, I didn't have a single complaint. She was attentive, affectionate, respectful. If someone had asked me if I trusted her back then, I would have said, with my life. Funny how life has a way of waking you up. The first red flag disguised as a company trip. Things changed slowly. So slowly I didn't even realize what was happening at first. She started working longer hours, going out with coworkers more, and coming home with vague stories that didn't quite add up. But I didn't press it. That's on me. I gave her the benefit of the doubt over and over. Then came the infamous company retreat. She told me about it one night while we were watching TV. Said her team was planning a corporate bonding weekend up in the mountains. I asked if I could come, half joking, and she shot it down immediately. Said none of the other wives or husbands were going, that it was strictly for the team, and that it would be weird if I tagged along. Something about the way she said it felt scripted, like she'd rehearsed it. I brushed it off, but deep down my gut started whispering, "She's lying to you." I didn't say anything at the time. I even helped her pack. But the next morning after she left, I pulled out my laptop and started looking for private investigators, hiring the PI and getting the call that changed everything. I connected with a local PI who came highly recommended, discreet, professional, and thorough. I gave him the hotel name, her supposed itinerary, and a few details about her boss, who I'd met once at a work event. He looked like your average mid-40s corporate guy. Clean cut. Wore loafers without socks. You know the type. The investigator left that same evening and promised to keep me updated with photos and any relevant activity. I told him, if I'm wrong, tell me. But if I'm right, I need to know everything. Well, I wasn't wrong. I got a call that very night. I still remember the way my heart dropped when I picked up and he said, I've got eyes on her and she's not alone. She's here with the boss and they're very comfortable. He sent me pictures. They were on a balcony kissing like teenagers. Later that night, I got more photos, this time from inside the hotel. They were having sex in a room that she told me was too rustic for Wi-Fi. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just shut down. I spent the rest of that weekend quietly moving her things out of the house, every drawer, every closet. I changed the locks. I put her stuff on the front lawn in labeled boxes. I called a lawyer the next morning and started the divorce paperwork. By the time she came back Sunday evening, the house looked like she'd never lived there. The gaslighting and the lawsuit threat. She pulled into the driveway and immediately started freaking out. I stood on the porch with my arms crossed and waited. She ran up crying, saying, Herb, what's going on? Why is my stuff out here? I didn't say a word. I handed her the manila envelope the PI gave me. Photos, timestamps, hotel receipts. She opened it, flipped through the first few pages, and turned ghost white. That's when the real gaslighting started. She had the audacity to say, this isn't what it looks like. I said, so you didn't kiss him on a balcony and sleep with him in room 204? She froze, then got angry. You had someone follow me. That's stalking. I could sue you for invasion of privacy. I laughed. That was my first laugh in days. She went from scared to furious to sobbing in a matter of minutes. But I didn't budge. I told her the divorce was already in motion, and if she had a problem with how I found out, she should have thought about that before lying about a trip that never existed. Courtroom drama. Herbert was emotionally abusive. The divorce wasn't quiet. Her lawyer tried to spin the entire thing around, claimed that I was emotionally cold, that I controlled the finances and isolated her from her friends. He even tried to say I was so unloving that she was pushed into the arms of another man. That was hard to sit through. It's one thing to be betrayed in private. It's another to sit in a courtroom and have your ex and her team try to rewrite history while you're still choking on the truth. I kept it together, though. I had all the proof I needed, and I had my lawyer document everything. The PI's photos sealed the deal. The judge sided with me. The divorce was granted swiftly. No alimony. I got to keep the house, my car, and even the dog. She moved back in with her sister in Norfolk. But it wasn't over. The fallout careers, destroyed in retaliation. Here's what I didn't mention in court, but I'll share with you. I didn't just walk away quietly. I sent everything to their company's HR department. The pictures, the receipts, the proof that they faked a company retreat and used corporate funds to fund their affair. Turns out, her boss was married too, with kids. 2 weeks later, both of them were terminated. Company policy breach, code of conduct violation, you name it. She called me again after that, this time not crying, screaming, said I ruined her life, that I went too far, and that no man would ever want to date a vindictive ex like me. Then her boss tried to confront me in public, cornered me at a coffee shop parking lot, and threatened to make me pay for getting him fired. I had to file a police report and get a temporary restraining order. That's a whole story in itself. I'll save that for part 2 if you give me the green light. Final thoughts, trust your gut always. Looking back now, the signs were there. I just didn't want to believe them. I wanted to believe the woman I married still existed somewhere under all those lies. I wanted to believe that the way she held me in our early years was real. But she wasn't that woman anymore. Maybe she never was. I'm healing. Slowly. I don't know if I'll ever get married again, but I do know this. I'll never ignore my gut again. And for anyone reading this or listening to this on your channel, if something feels off, don't gaslight yourself. Ask questions. Protect your peace. And if you have to, be ready to walk away, even if it hurts like hell. Let me know if you'd like part two. I'm ready to share everything, from how I rebuilt my life, to how I handled her boss's threats, to the weird message I got from Elle just a few weeks ago. Thanks for reading. Herbert. Dear True Story, thank you for taking the time to read my first email. The response, even just the act of writing it, was like therapy in a way. So as promised, I'm here with part two of my story. Like I said before, the cheating, the lies, and the divorce were only the beginning. What happened afterward was the part no one warns you about, the part that doesn't end when the papers are signed. This is what happened after the world came crashing down and how I slowly began to rebuild. The silence after the storm. The days following the divorce were eerily quiet. For the first time in 7 years, I didn't wake up to the smell of coffee she used to make. I didn't hear her humming in the bathroom or tossing pillows around the bed like she did every morning. The silence was loud, but honestly, it was a relief, peaceful. I didn't realize how much emotional tension I had been holding in until I was finally alone. It wasn't just the house that felt emptier, it was me. The betrayal didn't just rob me of a relationship, it robbed me of a version of myself. I questioned everything. Was I too trusting, too passive? Did I miss something, or was I in denial? I spent a lot of time walking. No headphones, no music, just walking around my neighborhood like I was trying to piece myself back together one block at a time. I didn't reach out to friends at first. I needed to grieve privately, but I wasn't broken. I was just resetting. The boss who wouldn't let go. I mentioned in part one that her boss, let's call him Derek, tried to confront me after I reported them both and got them fired. What I didn't mention was how persistent and unhinged he became. After the restraining order was issued, I thought that would be the end of it. But nope. A few weeks later, I noticed a black SUV parked near my house. Not every day, but often enough for it to feel intentional. At first, I thought it was just someone from the neighborhood, but my neighbor confirmed she saw a man sitting inside for over an hour one night, just watching. I reported it, and the police followed up. Nothing concrete, no plates registered to Derek, but I knew it was him. Then came the anonymous emails. The first one said, "Snitches get what they deserve." The second said, "Enjoy the peace while you can." I traced the IPs myself. They were from burner accounts, probably set up through proxies, but one had been created just an hour before the message was sent and pinged from a public library not far from Derek's address. It wasn't just creepy, it was stupid. He was unraveling. I filed another report and forwarded everything to my attorney. I wanted it documented in case he crossed the line again. The message from Elle that sent me spinning. Right when I thought I had regained some emotional footing, I got a text from Elle. I hadn't blocked her. Maybe I should have, but I guess part of me wanted to see if she would try to fix things or admit what she did. What I didn't expect was the message she sent. It was a photo of us from our honeymoon in Florence. We were sitting on the steps outside a cafe, wine glasses in hand, looking ridiculously in love. Underneath the photo, she wrote, "I made the biggest mistake of my life. I didn't even love him. I just didn't feel loved by you anymore. I hate myself for what I did. Please don't let this be the end of us." My chest tightened when I read it. Not because I believed her, but because I knew it was her latest manipulation tactic. She didn't say sorry until it all blew up in her face. She didn't regret the cheating until it cost her everything. She wasn't sorry when she was in bed with Derek. She was sorry now because she had no job, no man, and no one left to blame. I didn't respond. I archived the message. Then I blocked her number. I won't lie and say it didn't affect me. It did. It triggered a week of insomnia, stress eating, and replaying old memories in my head like reruns of a show I used to love but now couldn't stand. But even through the pain, I felt something else: clarity, therapy, boundaries, and becoming that guy who journals. A close friend of mine, Rodney, who I hadn't seen in months, invited me out for wings one Friday night. He didn't ask questions. He just let me vent. I'll never forget what he said. You can either keep being the guy who got cheated on, or you can become the guy who outgrew her betrayal. That stuck with me. I found a therapist the next week, black woman in her 50s, named Dr. Paula Simmons. Tough, funny, and didn't let me wallow in victimhood. She helped me unpack years of conditioning, how I'd learned to be the nice guy even when my needs weren't being met, how I tolerated things that didn't sit right with me, how I was more concerned with keeping the peace than being at peace. She gave me homework, journaling. At first, I rolled my eyes, but I did it anyway. It started simple, just lists of things that made me angry, things I missed, things I hoped for. Then it got deeper. I started uncovering the little lies I told myself during the marriage, the times I ignored red flags, the times I knew she was emotionally checked out but said nothing. By month 3, I was journaling almost every night. It became my mirror. My circle got smaller. And that was a good thing. If divorce teaches you anything, it's who's really in your corner. Some mutual friends tried to stay neutral. One even said, "Well, you can't be that surprised. She's always been a little flirty at work events." That person's number got deleted real quick. Others stepped up. Rodney checked in weekly. My cousin Angela invited me to dinner every Sunday, even when I didn't want to go. My neighbor, Mrs. Keys, this sweet 70-year-old widow, brought me home-cooked food every other day, just in case I wasn't eating right. I realized that healing isn't about forgetting what happened. It's about recognizing who still stands beside you when everything else falls apart. Leveling up. The comeback. By month 5 post-divorce, I started feeling like myself again. Not the married version, not the broken version, but the new version. I got promoted at work, senior operations manager. I started hitting the gym again, lost 15 pounds, and finally took that solo trip to Denver I'd always talked about. I even started dating again. Nothing serious, but just enough to remind myself I was still desirable, still valuable, and still capable of trust. Eventually. I also started mentoring younger guys at my church who were going through breakups and divorces. Sharing my story didn't make me feel embarrassed. It made me feel empowered. I wasn't the guy who got cheated on anymore. I was the guy who had the strength to walk away, set boundaries, and rebuild. The final plot twist. Because, of course, there was one. Just when I thought the storm had passed, I got an email, this time from an unfamiliar address. The subject line just said, "You don't know everything." It was from an anonymous account, but the body of the email claimed to be from someone who worked at Elle's former company. They said Elle and Derek weren't just having a harmless affair. It was going on for over a year, with multiple company trips, hidden reimbursements, and even bribes to another employee who nearly exposed them. I couldn't verify all of it, but they included an attachment, a forwarded chain of emails from Elle to Derek about one of their supposed team offsites, complete with hotel booking confirmations. The date? 6 months before the balcony trip. I stared at the screen for a full 10 minutes. All that time I thought I caught her cheating. Turns out I just caught the tail end. That wasn't the first time. It was the last time she got sloppy. That realization made me sick, but it also set me free. I wasn't crazy. I wasn't overreacting. I had been deceived for far longer than I thought, and still managed to come out on top. Final thoughts again. So here I am, months later, living in a clean house, eating healthier than ever, sleeping through the night, and waking up without that weight on my chest. Would I wish this experience on anyone? Hell no. But am I grateful I saw the truth, took action, and refused to stay in a sham marriage just to save face? Absolutely. And to any man listening to this, whether you're going through it or just starting to feel that pit in your stomach, listen to your instincts. Don't ignore the small lies. Don't let "she's just tired" become the excuse for her growing distance. Don't be afraid to dig for the truth. The worst pain is temporary. The freedom after, that lasts. Thanks again for reading this, and if anyone wants to hear what happened when I finally ran into Derek again, well, let's just say I've got a part 3 waiting in the wings. All the best. Herbert.